going elk hunting in the state of Colorado. That's right, this is Sean McVeigh. Sean's Outdoor Adventures. I am packing up to go elk hunting in the state of Colorado. The way this came about is I had a viewer actually message me back in like December, maybe January, saying, hey Sean, if you ever want to come elk hunting in Colorado, let me know. I said, hey, if you're serious, send me an email through my website. So he did. And I said, if you're serious, man, I'll come out. He said, I'm serious. So we were in touch a little bit at that time. I said, listen, I really need to know for sure because I got to get like some help to watch our little kids while I'm away. He's like, yeah, man, I'm definitely serious. So I scheduled to get my mother and father-in-law to come to Iowa from Pennsylvania to help watch the kids so I could drive out to Colorado. Now, if I was going to just be doing this hunt, I would drive out to do some scouting in the summertime so I have an idea what I'm getting into. But since he was going to be taking me, I thought I don't need to do that. And then around April, I wrote to him again, just say, hey man, just to make sure, are we definitely going to do the elk hunt this year? He's like, yes, absolutely. So as we got closer, I reached out to him. I didn't hear back. And then I ended up calling him. And we talked very briefly. And then he's like, listen, man, I can't talk. I'm watching the basketball. It was like when the basketball finals were on. He's like, we'll catch up another time, but we're definitely doing it. So the next day, he emailed me saying, hey, it was great to talk to you. You pick a spot and then we'll go there and I'll tell you why later. And I was like, well, I don't know where to go. I've been in Colorado maybe once in Denver, but not even, I was actually there for a church mission, not even for anything hunting related. So I was like, why have me pick the spot? I don't know where to go. And so that was my response. I never heard back. So I was like, well, I guess I'll pick a spot. I pick a spot, sent it to him, never heard back. And then the licenses went on sale. I was like, well, I guess I'll get the license. And then I bought the license. I emailed him, never heard from him. Texted him and said, hey man, I bought the hunting license. And he wrote back, he's like, great, I'm excited. And that was the last I ever heard of him. So I'm basically going in blind. I drove out to Colorado the day before. And when I talked to him on the phone, he's like, don't worry about calls. Because I said, what calls should I get? He's like, I'll take care of all that. I'll show you what I do. And then you can get calls later. Well, I ordered some calls off of like Amazon. And, I've never used an elk call before. So I had tried it like maybe 2 times before leaving. So in the car ride there, I'm breaking out the elk call, trying it out a little bit. As you can see, I'm not really that good with the elk call, but let's get into the trip. Currently in Nebraska, just next to Colorado, and approaching Wyoming. It's very much prairie land. Still got about 4 hours of driving to go. See you when I get there. All right, just driven through Nebraska and Wyoming. Now, I'm still in Wyoming, but I'm dropping down in, getting my first look at some mountains here. So we have I will say I feel very unprepared for this, and I'm going to try to enjoy myself. A little nerve-wracking. Pretty sure I'm not going to have cell service, so hopefully nothing bad happens. Lord Jesus, please protect me. Ultimately, just help me get in and out safely and have a nice time. If it means also harvesting an elk, that would be awesome. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Amen. My game plan is to get there, midday on Wednesday, the day before opening day, drive around, get some, just ground scouting in from driving around, get familiar with the area. I was talking to everybody I could find, and then I was going to go to my spot that I e-scouted, and I was going to do some boots on the ground real quick just to get a sense of what I was getting into. A lot of people camping. They have, the way it's set up, you can basically just pull into a campsite for free. A along the side of the road. As long as there is a fire pit there, you're allowed to camp there, according to what I was reading. So, getting close to the area I'm going, and you can see the hunting pressure. It's going to be steep. Road damage. Great. The GPS said turn left on unpaved road. I just passed. You can kind of see it. And that's where it wanted me to turn. This will get interesting. I am glad that I did not bring any food that needs to be cooked. I basically brought all dry stuff. Just hopped out to read some of these rules on the board here. Gotta watch out for those moose. Well, those of you that smoke and want to come out here, it's prohibited. So, at least in this area where I'm at, it says on the sign, you're not even allowed to smoke a cigarette. Good thing I don't smoke. Right back there, there's some vehicles. A car, I guess they weren't looking, went down off the side of the road. They got a tow truck trying to pull them up. You gotta really pay attention on these roads. Can't be messing around. Never be afraid to stop and ask for help. I just was driving around looking for somebody, and there's little cabins here and there, and there was a guy walking outside right as I was praying too, Lord, let me find somebody who lives in one of these cabins walking outside, basically, and boom, there it happened. So I pulled off. I said, hey, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? You know, got a few minutes to talk. And we got to talking. He's like, I don't hunt, but he showed me on the map in the area some of the places that I could try and where people typically try. And the one area I thought I wasn't allowed to drive, I thought it was a four-wheeler access only, where it was where I was originally going. He said I actually can drive down there, so I'm going to go back and go down in there and check that out. But I've got a few places that have opened up to me essentially now that I have that information. So thank you, God, and thank you for Don. Here's somebody with here's a four-wheeler just sitting there. Somebody's four-wheeler. Hang on, it must be around here somewhere. There's a stream right down there. It could be fishing. Oh, here comes another four-wheeler. All right. All right, right over there, there's a couple guys. I was just chatting with them. They're from Pennsylvania, my old stomping grounds. Came out a couple years ago and got one. They're coming back, see if they can do it again. I'm gonna go check out another area that the guy from the cabin told me. Let's get some better lighting here. Going to check this other area out real quick, see if anyone's camping there, and then maybe go get myself set up. Guy's got all his gear. He's walking in. Tomorrow's opening day, so he's probably planning to get back in pretty far. A lot of cars at this spot. There's like 4 cars right over there. What's up, buddy? I'll come back in 5 years and visit you. Another 3-pointer. The mule deer are definitely plentiful around here. I'm not getting footage of them all, but I've just seen about 10 as I'm driving back to the spot where I want to park for the night. Alright, this is where I think I'm going to spend the night. Rather than set the tent up just to get everything all wet, I might just try to rearrange stuff in the back to see if I can sleep in the back here. Gotta love rain. The next morning, I just got out and I hiked to the spot. I put a waypoint in my GPS. Let's go. Let's see what happens.
Got to the top of a mountain. I hear lots of hunters. Next valley over. A lot of mule deer sign here, no elk sign. My goal is to get into a saddle right over here. Wind is blowing that way. I'm gonna let out one bugle here and get over in the saddle, because elk tend to hang up roughly 70 yards from the collar. With the wind blowing that way, I'm going to get on the downwind side of the draw. I'm a little nervous because this will be my first one of the day. I'm holding a video camera, not sure how well it'll come out. I didn't get the high note. Try one more. A little better. Gotta keep moving, trying to get to that spot. I saw a few cow elk tracks back there. Not fresh though. Just blew it. I heard a noise over there and did a cow call a little bit ago for the camera. Maybe an hour ago. I heard something again, so I did another cow call. And there I saw an elk coming through. Couldn't tell if it was male or female. It was by itself. Could have been a bull. I went to reach over for my bow, and my foot slipped on some of these wet twigs, and it made a noise, and it took off. While it was running away, I quick turned on my GoPro. I don't know if it'll get the audio. Oh, dude, I'm so close. It's about 40 yards. Came in blind, based totally on the maps. 40 yards over is the center of the saddle. I figured if anything's cutting over this ridge, there's a good chance it would come through the saddle. That elk went so far, it just kept running and running. I'm so heartbroken right now. I'm catching the thermal up this hill too. There's like a little valley and a rim right here. And the east is that way, and the sun's coming up and thermal's coming up right here. Oh, I'm gonna be sick. I was close. Yeah, praise God, I was close. I mean, if my foot hadn't slipped on that, I might be tracking in an hour. Oh well. Alright, the wind has shifted, so I'm gonna move. I came over to see where the elk came from. I believe it came through here. It was walking right down there. It was right over there when I spooked it and ran back that way. Fresh tracks from this morning. Poured rain all night. I'm just walking out the ridge. I was on the edge of the ridge over there. I saw this on the map, aerial photo. I thought maybe it was something they could eat, but it's just like a grass that doesn't look like they eat. You can see probably the mule deer are cutting through here. There's a tree right there I could get in a stand in. Right on the other side, I just saw fresh tracks from elk out there. About 60, 70 yards from where that tree is. Gonna look again, but keep that as an option. Probably a big mule deer. I might hunt this area in the morning tomorrow. Finish my scouting loop. Get out of here and let it rest for the rest of the day. Go somewhere else for the evening. Fresh tracks coming through this opening here, this cleared area. Across this ridge. I sat at that end, near the end of this ridge in the saddle this morning, and worked my way across here. A lot of elk. Well, there's some fresh elk tracks over in here. And I went down to that grassy area over there. A lot of mule deer tracks in through here. Drop down in to see in this little bit of a saddle. There's another ridge that runs out that way. Might try that in the morning if it looks good down in there. I'm just gonna sit here for a little while, do a little glassing, and just listen. Thought I heard a noise over there a little bit ago. Could have been a mule deer walking. All right, I've got one bar of signal here. on the top of this mountain. So I just responded to like 50 comments on YouTube. I'm gonna drop down in here and then work my way out. Go check out somewhere else for an evening sit. Try to let this rest for tomorrow morning. I've just spent the last hour right on top of this knob, 20 yards from where I'm standing. As I'm walking down several sets of fresh elk tracks from this morning. Came across there, right around here. I'm gonna drop down in and take a look. I might even try to set up here. It's just wide open, so it'd be hard to not be spotted. See, I'm gonna walk down here and take a look. I've just walked another 20 yards. Another couple sets of fresh elk tracks. I think I'm gonna set up there in the morning. It's just so open. I might get busted, but they seem to have come through here this morning. Right now the wind's blowing the wrong way for that to be a spot, so if the wind's blowing that way in the morning, I'll have to try to set up over there. But the elk came walking right around this knob, and they're all going down there. Probably bedded for the day down there. I was gonna walk out through there, but I might have to go out a different way. I don't want to bump them out of there. Just came down to the spot I wanted to check out off of that opening up there. There's a nice rub here. Looks like some other rubs over here. just sit somewhere in this area in the morning, whether it's down in here or up there. I like it down in here because it's so thick, you know, I can hide better. Another rub over there. This is rubbed heavily right here. Some of these are nice, big, high off the ground. Look at this one right here. Branches are broke all the way up there. All the branches are broke off the tree. So I'm pretty confident that's elk. All the branches broke all the way up. All these trees are rubbed all over in here. I'm gonna sit here in the morning. There's tracks up there, but I think I'll just sit down here. And there's remains of a dead elk from years ago. Possibly somebody shot one and packed it out from right here. I just marked that tree right behind me to set up in the morning right there. Just off the edge of the thick where all those rubs are. There's a fresh elk track right here from this morning. Let's see what happens. It's gonna be hard to pull off because this track goes about 3 yards from the tree. You know, I'm not gonna be able to evade detection. So if I get a shot, there's so many rubs in here, it's crazy.
Hard to get a perspective of how steep this is. I'm almost out. Desperately need water, as you can tell. Almost out, so I'll get some when I get out. Just got back to the car. Came down this mountain over here. There's actually a mule deer right about 40 yards from the car, right there. Figured with hunting pressure over there, if they're trying to escape, get out of that area, come through that funnel right up into where I'm set up. All right, I'm sure people are going to ask me where I'm hunting. Right there is Denver. I'm hunting in this area right in here. Make sure you read the rules. The antler restrictions of bull elk taken in all seasons must have 4 points or more on one antler or a brow tine of at least 5 inches long. That means the spike with a 5-inch brow tine is legal. Which means if I see a spike with a 5-inch brow tine, or anything bigger, or a cow tomorrow, and it's within shooting range, I'm slinging an arrow. I'm not being picky, just trusting in the Lord and having a great time, enjoying the great outdoors on Sean's Outdoor Adventures. Just drove over to the trailhead where I heard a bunch of bugling this morning. Man, there's probably 15 trucks there. And horses, horse trailer. Some of those people are going way back in, miles and miles. Definitely a lot of hunting pressure on that side. I didn't have anybody over by me. Hopefully it stays that way. God, please keep it that way. Well, that afternoon, actually, I drove to a different location where I could hang my hammock and took a nap. Now, there is dispersed camping all over the place, which means you can pull off the road if there's a designated campsite with a fire pit, and you can camp there for free. So I went to this other one, hung my hammock, was just taking a nap, and this 70-year-old guy pulls in, and he turns around to leave, and I said, hey, don't leave. I said, if you want to camp here, go ahead. I was just napping, and then I'm heading out. Well, he's been hunting elk for 50 years, and he was giving me all kinds of tips. He was actually just checking out that area too. He lived 6 hours away. So got a great friend out of the deal. And that evening, I wanted to let that spot cool off, so I did not go back to where I encountered the elk in the morning. My plan was to wait till the following morning and get back in there. That evening, found some mule deer beds. I was bumping mule deer, and the wind shifted and was going in the worst possible direction from where I expected anything to be coming from. Didn't see a thing.
I got a little turned around coming in this morning. I tried to go up through the valley to the spot, and I ended up on the top of the hill where I started yesterday, and I pushed a bunch of elk off the top. So, I don't know if it's other hunters or an elk, but I heard a bugle way over there. Could just be hunters. Just heard two groups of elk run up the hill, just out of sight. I hear a bugle back there. I don't know if it's a hunter pushing them, or if it's a bull elk pushing them. I turned the GoPro on. I don't know if you'll hear the stampede sound of running. I'm gonna be quiet and see what happens. Just heard something moving downwind to me. I knew it got a whiff of me and it was moving off. It was a moose. Female. I just saw her running away. Probably like 100 yards away. Just talked to those guys. I listened to them bugle all the way across that back valley this morning. And they just spooked that one over there. They're gonna go chase after it. I'm gonna drop down into the valley behind me. Just see if I get lucky. If they push something over there. See what happens. I forgot to mention this while I was standing here talking to those guys. Heard something run down in this valley where I'm about to go. I don't know what it was. Could have been an elk, could have been a muley. Anyway, it's supposed to be a west wind tonight, which really messes up my plan. Being up on the hilltop here, I can get a bar, so I was able to check the weather. But I told those guys my plan, so hopefully they'll, work around me. Like tonight and tomorrow, my plan. We'll see. Just bumped some mule deer. I didn't get footage of them. Nice rub right here. Classic deer bed. Not on there. Probably a mile and a fawn. Oh, I'm sitting in the car. It is midday, 12. It is hot. Super hot out. Since I've been here in the car for the last hour and a half, there's been about 5 more
hunters that have driven in. There are just so many people hunting. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't really enjoy this type of hunting where you've got so many people everywhere. Reminds me of spring turkey in Pennsylvania. Most of the calling and hunting pressure's been over in this valley over here. I guess I can't really show you the valley and my face at the same time because of how dark it gets. But anyway, over there, I'm studying the map, and there's a access trail down there where everyone's parking and going in. I'm a little bummed, the guys I ran into this morning up on the hill where I've been hunting, and they were pushing the elk all over, and they were basically just chasing them. Like, after they bumped that last one, they're like, yeah, we're just going to keep following it, try to catch up. I don't know, it's just going to push them out of the area, really, is what that's going to do. But now that that's the first time they've been on to elk, they're going to keep coming back there. So I think my chances up there are really very slim to none at this point with that. I think it's been a learning lot. I mean, I've learned a lot just in a day and a half of hunting. And the whole point in wanting to do an over-the-counter hunt was to get some experience, because some friends and I have been putting in for a draw unit for years now, and I didn't want to go in with no experience, spending all that money on points and all those years of preparation, and then you get there and you don't know what you're doing. So now I've got a much better idea. I don't know if I'll get anything on this trip. I'd say with every day, chances go down. I have learned very clearly that this time of year, the elk just really aren't calling. They're not bugling, and all the hunters are bugling like crazy. Everyone is way over calling. Even the guys I talked to this morning, they were just bugling. I heard them all the way across that back valley. And I mean, the guy was really good with the bugle. I thought maybe it was a real elk for a while there. But no, it was them. So hunting them this early in the season, I think the key is to find the sign, if you can, and then just try to set up on them, hunt them almost like deer, and avoid using the calls unless there's one close and you just can't get it close enough, and you want to try to move it over a little bit or something. But I think minimum call is probably the key this time of year. So I feel like these guys have just ruined my little honey hole that I came across and found. So that night, I was talking to the 70-year-old guy that I met, Roger, and he's like, I found a spot up the road that looks a little more promising. It's a lot thicker, because where we were at, they did a control burn years ago, and nothing grew back. I mean, it was really kind of sparse. So I basically boots on the ground that whole afternoon looking for fresh sign, and nothing. I didn't find anything. The next morning, I decided, though, to go back to one of the better looking spots in the area that I had just scouted that afternoon, and got up in a tree stand, and nothing. There was no movement whatsoever, no mule deer, no elk, nothing. So that night, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go back to where I was the first morning and encountered the elk, and see how I do. Now, I had also injured and thrown my back out like 4 or 5 days before going on this trip. So crawling through all the blowdowns and everything, my back was really hurting me. And I came to the realization, like, even if I get an elk, I'm all by myself, I'm just probably not going to have too easy of a time getting it out of here. So I thought, you know what? Although I could hunt for another day, I'm just going to call it quits here and try to get home and heal this back before deer hunting season comes in. Well, I went up to the top of the ridge again that night, and the wind was blowing from the west all day. After I had been up there for about 40 minutes, it turned straight from the north and was blowing right down into where they had been bedded the day before. And I'm like, the game's over. They know I'm here. So I dropped down into the valley behind me where a couple draws come together, and it was a great travel corridor, and there was actually some good bedding areas around. And I was hoping that maybe just from the north, maybe something would come down out of a bed and come past me. I did have a couple mule deer coming in on the side of me that night, and I actually grabbed my video camera and twisted like this to try to get footage. And my back went out on me, and I almost fell just trying to videotape these mule deer. I got terrible footage. There was 2 decent bucks, that 100-inch range type of a buck. And then I went and got in the car, started driving home. Come on, let's go. I'm trying to get somewhere. You coming too, or what? Cows, move. Move. I drove probably 4 hours that night, slept for 3 hours, and then kept driving. I actually went to Mass in the morning in Lincoln, Nebraska during my ride. Jumped back in the car, made my way home. I would love to get back out there before the season ends, but I just don't think it's going to happen this year. I said a little prayer about it today. We'll see if God opens the door. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I really don't know. But I got to tell you this. I learned so much on this hunt, not just from chatting with Roger, this guy with tons of experience, but just being there myself. I was amazed at how many people were there. There's so many hunters there. It was almost comical. I was up when I was meeting all these hunters. They were all saying, "Yeah, I'm going 4 miles in. I'm going 2 miles in," and they were all going like this. I'm going 2 miles in, 4 miles in. So I immediately looked that direction, and I looked on the map, and I studied the topography. I said, "Where can I go that isn't that far, that could produce some movement and put me on the elk?" And I used the measuring tool of my mapping program. From where I was at to my car where I encountered that elk the first morning was 442 yards. Now that's linear, and I was up almost a cliff. So boots on the ground, it's a little more than 400 yards. But still, every single person I talked to all talked about getting in as far and as deep as they could into the national forest. And I thought, you know what? That doesn't mean you're going to get on the elk, and it doesn't mean the elk aren't going to be closer to the parking area. Because if no one is hunting closer to where you can park, the elk could be there. And in fact, I was on them. So take that as a tip. Listen to what the other hunters are doing, and then ask the question, where is no one else going? Now, I did end up having some hunters come across my path that second morning, but they came from 1.5 miles away. So they were thinking, yeah, we got to walk for miles to get to the elk. Well, if they would have just came around to where I was parked, they could have got there in 442 yards, not 1.5 miles, coming all the way across this back valley and then up the hill to where I was at. So, as my buddy Andrew Penzie from Vital Point often says, I'm hunting smarter, not harder. And I really took that approach because of my back injury and being alone. My strategy was to look at the roads and look at where I could get in a 1/2 mile or so and parallel the road in my scouting. And I went in 442 yards, 500 yards, and boom, I was already on them. I didn't even have to parallel scout the road. I was in the elk right when I got there. So thank you so much for following this video and watching the whole thing through. I want to thank you for watching all of my videos. And don't forget, if you haven't gotten in on any of my giveaways in the past, every year I do lots of giveaways. This year I'm giving away some awesome stuff in the month of November. Gray Fox game carts, Ultimate Predator Stalker Decoy, Dragon X8 Pro compound bow package, stuff like that. Go to the giveaways page on my website. I'll put a link in the description. Also, make sure you check out the series I'm airing right now called Antler Stories. I'm I'm sharing the story of every single buck I have on the wall behind me, all in one place, all in one series called Antler Stories. So make sure you check out that playlist and watch all those videos. Again, I'm Sean McVay, Sean's Outdoor Adventures. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, take care and God bless.